This is a Musclecat Media production.
Baseball expats, we've got a couple plays for you to start your week after the weekend. If you want to go back and listen to past episodes, a good one, well received. I'm liking it on the Under 12 World Cup with Rolsey, about a half-hour talk where we break down. That one is our past episode. This is a short and sweet one with Eric and Spoon again. Spoon, for me, this episode, just like it's been the last few, has been about finding value, because if you've been listening to us lately, we have found some value. In particular, and I'm just going to jump right in, the Cincinnati Reds and the Rangers. About a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, All-Star Weekend, we looked at it and we said, which teams are not in a playoff spot that are long shot odds that you would place a bet on right now? And we did. We went and placed a bet on them making the playoffs. Now, those teams were the Reds at 650 and the Rangers at 5s. The Rangers are now tied for the last wild card spot, and the Reds are just a game out of the last wild card spot, and no teams in front of them either. Reds are playing great. They're like 10-4 in 14 games since the All-Star break. We also told you to bet on the Toronto Blue Jays to win the division because they were paying $240 just 1 week ago today, and now they have the best record in Major League Baseball and are like the shortest odds of all the division and the second odds-on favorite for World Series. You could have got them on 19s on Friday if you listened to us. That's a big rant for me to start before I bring you in, Spoon. But my point is, listen to us, baby. We're doing the Lord's work right here.
Yeah, I think you covered all the key points there. It was quite refreshing listening to the Sunday Night Baseball broadcast today and just hearing Buster Olney was on there and he was talking about which team should be buying. And it was, those teams you named that we were sort of, they were probably on the cusp from a betting point of view, but from a value point of view, they were right there. And the Rangers and the Reds, I think they've still got a lot left in the tank, especially now that the starting pitching's getting healthy.
Spoiler alert, one of my picks for this week has to do with the Reds. The other one that is interesting, by the way, is the Kansas City Royals, who are just close to 500, right underneath there, but they have gone on and re-signed players that have been available at the deadline, supposedly. They have said that they're not going to be sellers now publicly. They have also gone in and traded for a guy we talked about in Randall Grichuk. They were one of my teams is like, hey, you know what? There could be this Bobby Witt narrative. Aaron Judge is going to have to get hurt. Hey, what's happened?
Yeah.
And the Royals need to do their part and go on a ridiculous run. But again, the AL's there for the taking. If you can go on like a 8-game win streak, you can turn your season from outside a wild card to first place in the major leagues, as we've seen with the Blue Jays. The Royals are interesting, dude, because they were the same record as the Cardinal or as the Diamondbacks, basically, and the same amount of teams to try to work their way through effectively. And here they are, the Royals. They're going to stand pat at the deadline. Is there still value in the Royals, do you think?
It's interesting. I mean, I think you don't go and make a move like re-signing, was it Seth Lugo they re-signed today? He had that player option expiring, so he was kind of gettable. They re-signed him. They went and got Grichuk. That doesn't seem like a team that's finished making moves. Like, I don't think it's not like they're sitting, pretty atop the division or anything like that. It is kind of the approach I would have liked to see Arizona potentially take, where it's more of a retooling than a rebuild, because the pitching's been brilliant. The batting, the offense has almost been too bad to be true. But by the same token, you could kind of argue that they're due some, positive sort of regression in that front. And if they start scoring 4 or 5 runs a game instead of 2 or 3, and they've got the pitching to match, then look out. Yeah, they're definitely a team that can get hot.
Other things to watch this week, Spoon, is a big one in the AL Central, those Brewers and the Cubs. First off, is there a spoiler? Do you have any plays related to that series, or can we just talk about it right now?
I've got one for tomorrow, but we can definitely talk about it. Yeah,
let's save that chat for when you give us your play. It was just something on my list, so that's what's coming up there. But one comment that interests me throughout the week, before we get to our picks, is, well, I'll just throw it to you and I'll give you 2 words and then you can tell us all we need to know. Ohtani glazing.
Yeah. For those who didn't see, they interviewed Garrett Crochet after his start against the Dodgers, where Ohtani got him twice, but he pitched brilliantly outside of that. I think he had 10 strikeouts or something like that, and Boston won. And Crochet's comment was, I made 2 bad pitches the entire night, but watching the Fox replay, you'd think that the Dodgers won that game. And there's been a lot of that this year. We've sort of talked about it a little bit offline. There's always a gravitational pull from a media point of view towards the bigger markets, but I think you could argue this has almost gone to the next level. And a comment that I think you'll appreciate is, he made 2 bad pitches all night, and they're the ones that get shown. Someone was like, it reminds me of a quarterback throwing for 5 touchdowns, but there's the 1 interception that they show. Someone else called that the Josh Allen treatment. So there's definitely a lot of that from those sort of smaller market teams sometimes. Not that that's what the Red Sox are, but I guess every market pales in comparison to the Ohtani Dodgers this year.
Yeah, just in the world, every market pales in comparison to Shohei Ohtani. I mean, we were amazed that he was shorter odds at the All-Star break than Aaron Judge to win the MVP, but it's just because the markets are so favored on Shohei Ohtani, and that's kind of what happens. But no, dude, I want to jump into some value picks, and I'm going to start it off here because I'm going to start it off with a guy I'm all about. There's been a theme this last little bit is we've been kind of talking about guys and teams before they get hot, buying low right now. Now, there is a player out there, and I might need you to help me create a bet as like you did last week as well. There is a guy out there who we're seeing some over-under strikeout lines that are not going to exist maybe ever again in this guy's career the way his trajectory is going. His name is Chase Burns.
Chase Burns.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say that.
Second overall pick in the draft last year. He's a stud, right? He's filthy. That slider is ridiculous. Played at Wake Forest. He has 10 strikeouts in back-to-back games, and honestly, he hasn't even pitched all that well, right? He got absolutely sewered in one of his starts. I think he
was tipping against Boston. Yeah.
1 out, right? It was 1 out, I think, right?
Yeah. He was tipping pitches.
But in his debut, he struck out, I think, was it the first five batters that he faced?
8 or 9 Yankees, I reckon, on debut.
Right? And now he's gone back-to-back with 10 strikeouts versus Colorado and Washington. I get they're not as strong, but he's gone against the Yankees, Boston, and the Phillies in other starts. In the Phillies, he had 7 strikeouts in 4 2/3. Versus the Yankees, he had 8 strikeouts in 5. Versus Colorado, he had 10 strikeouts in 6. Versus Washington, he had 10 in 5.2. Now he's playing the Dodgers, and interesting to note, he's going against Yamamoto, so this is going to be an awesome. I'm excited to watch this game because it's a good pitching matchup. But the line is 5.5, and when I was getting ready for this pod, I was like, man, his line's going to be what, 6.5? Is it going to be pushing 7s? Now the overs is still less than double money. I think it's 170 at last check, but the Dodgers are averaging 8.6 strikeouts per game, but it's at over 28% strikeout rate their last 3 games and 24.2% away from home. They're on a travel day. They're not playing all that well. The Reds are rolling. They're playing great. And I think there's a lot of pressure on Chase Burns to say, hey, you don't need to make a move for another starting pitcher. You've already got 4 really good dudes in front of me, and I can be that key to success, whether it be as a starter or as the pen. I think there's some nice value potentially in well, first off, the Reds are paying $245 at home, which is kind of interesting to me, but I'm always scared betting when the Dodgers are playing. But 5.5 was the line, so I'm looking at something like a 7+ for Chase Burns. Help me create a bet with Chase Burns right here because there has to be value.
Yeah, so I've sort of picked the eyes out of this one already and landed on the exact same thing. You can get 7 or more strikeouts at 230, which I just thought was crazy. What's a lot of fun, and I don't know if we necessarily want to make it a play, but Sportsbet have done these markets, which they seem to do when there's a big matchup. They're not there for every game. They've got these starting pitching special markets tomorrow, and I think you'll love this one as a first-run inning kind of micro guy as well. They've got Burns and Yamamoto to combine for 4 or more strikeouts in the first inning, paying $4.50. 5 or more at 15, 6 or more at 101. Yeah, sure, a lot has to go right, but $4.50 for both guys to pick up 2. These aren't lineups that are sort of strikeout proof, especially at the top of the order. I thought that was maybe a fun little way to play around that, but with the main value being $2.37 or more strikeouts, I'm with you with everything you just said. This guy's electric, and he's going to have a long future, I think, in the bigs.
What's cool to see is Tito Francona is just like letting him work through some stuff right now. So, I mean, unless he gets absolutely shelled, I mean, he allowed 5 runs and got 1 out with like 6 hits in that start versus Boston. But some of his other appearances haven't been exactly pretty, right? Like he's willing to keep Burns out there and weather a home run, weather a storm. And Francona doesn't necessarily do that with everybody. That kind of tells me that he sees some kind of mental fortitude with Chase Burns that's like, you know what, this dude can handle getting rocked a little bit too. He just seems to have this kind of confident swagger. So that was exactly my bet that I wrote down, was Burns 7+. I think it was 235 on Bet365 like 2 hours ago. If it's around 230s, I really like playing just a simple bet over double money. Burns could allow 5 runs, the Reds could lose, and he could still strike out 7, and you can get win. And I just don't think, if you want a simple play, jump on the 170 at 5 over 5.5, because those over underlines are just going to increase as time goes on. And the Dodgers are striking out a lot right now. So crazy value to me. That's my first play. I'm going to lock in Burns at 230.
Love it.
What do you got first?
Okay, so I'm going to, the matchup we sort of touched on earlier and then, shied away from. It's a massive week in the NL Central, the Cubs and the Brewers. And I really like the setup tomorrow for Mizorowski. There was a lot of chat around him being an all-star, 5 starts into his career. What sort of came out with that story as the few days that followed, and the Phillies fans who wanted to be angry over nothing sort of found out. They offered it to about 15 different guys, and Mizorowski was one who was actually able to do it. So it's not like he was just promoted into the forefront. And if anything, I kind of feel sorry for him because it detracted a little bit from what should have been an awesome achievement. Look, this guy's made 6 starts in his career. He's still very much an unfinished product. He's got a 2.45 ERA. He's got an unbelievable strikeout rate. He struck out 40 guys in 29.1 innings. Like he's up there throwing 102, 103 in the first inning and in the 5th or 6th inning. Like the stuff is consistent. The velocity is unhittable at times. And I think tomorrow really sets the stage for what is going to be a huge series, and getting the opener with the Brewers trying to, stamp their mark on this division looks like, pretty critical. So player performance double, Mizorowski 6 or more strikeouts and the Brewers to win at $3.10, I think is a nice way to play, because, as we've sort of spoken about before, if he goes out there and he shoves, he's getting his 6 strikeouts and they're not a 3-1 bet. If he goes out there and gets lit up, they're not winning anyway. So I kind of feel like you're getting 310 about something that's probably closer to 50-50 at that 6 or more line, given his recent starts have been tallies of 7, 12, 2 against the Mets in a rough start, his only rough start, and then 8 and 6. And you can dabble a little top up on 8 or more at 675. But I think the 6 and the win at 310 is a pretty nice way to play, and what looms is a massive series at home for the Brew Crew.
Basically, what we need here is 2 of our 4 plays to hit the way that this is tracking right now for us to make some money. And I've got another one for tomorrow. And it is, if we're talking about 2 young guys that are going to be in this league for a long time, they've only made 12 starts combined in Burns and Mizorowski. If that's the play for the first one, where do you think I'm going for my one? If I'm going the complete...
You're going Rich Hill, aren't you?
I'm going Rich Hill. Now, I'm not looking at player markets for Rich Hill. I mean, he's a 45-year-old. He's just returned to the big leagues. But what I am looking at is he actually looked pretty good in his first start. And the Royals are kind of making a play that they're serious right now about trying to make the playoffs. And I think that might give a little bit of a boost to the clubhouse. Now, it's not the pitching that's been the problem for the Royals all year. We've noted that quite frequently. They've won 2 series in a row, the Kansas City Royals had, including in Chicago versus the Chicago Cubs. They had to win this series versus the Cleveland Guardians, and they took care of business. So it's 2 straight series wins. It's a team that's shown they can get hot, but the reason I like it is just that pure word I said at the top, value. They are playing the Atlanta Braves at home, and they are 245 underdogs at home. The Royals have a better record than the Atlanta Braves. Yes, Rich Hill is starting, but you know what? They're giving way too much credit to the Atlanta Braves because other than a 3-week stretch, they have been awful this year. Like if the Braves didn't have that one hot streak in May or whatever it was to get them back to respectability, we might be talking about the second worst team in baseball. Like the Braves have been bad, dude. So I just kind of like jumping on the Royals straight up. If the market hasn't moved since I last checked, around that 240 mark, just for a straight on the nose win at home versus a team that is worse than them.
Yeah, I like it. I looked as well there. I think that there's way too much respect being put on Spencer Strider there. And we spoke a little bit about this probably about a month ago now. Like the Brave season is over. Spencer Strider's coming back from Tommy John. I think it might have been about a month ago I was on his unders against the Orioles because there's too much inflated sort of expectation around him to pitch into the 7th inning of a game when there's literally no reason for him to be doing that. The Braves have said they're going to be, taking all calls and definitely selling guys like Ozuna. So they're in a similar position to where Arizona are, where you shouldn't be treating them as the same team that they were in March because this is very much a different team. And on top of that, Spencer Strider, solid pitcher when he's missing bats, but the Royals are second only to your Blue Jays as a strikeout prevention team. And if he's making contact, or he's sort of generating contact, he's going to be having those 5, 6, 7 sort of pitch ABs, and in the same way that Toronto do a lot, that frustrates those pitchers that generate sort of high whiff rates just by overpowering. The same reason you took Rodon's unders against the Blue Jays a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I like it. I think you knock Strider out in the 4th or 5th. All you need is Rich Hill to sort of be around the mark, and you're getting 240 about a home team that's very much still in the hunt.
On paper, Strider's the better pitcher, but the Royals have a better record. They're at home, and Strider is just getting, like you said, inflated market prices. He's walked 3 batters in 4 of his last 5 starts. So I kind of like looking for value there. And again, we just need 2 of these 4 to hit that we are presenting, and we're making money. So we've got Burns, 7+ at 230. A player performance double with Mizorowski, 6+ strikeouts on the Brewers to win at 310. The Kansas City Royals at 240. And to round out the ticket is...
So, sticking a little bit to your line of thinking throughout the year in something of a little avalanche. I don't know if you've had a look at this sort of setup much in this matchup. The Pirates head to the Giants, who finished today with the bases loaded and a chance to tie the game against the Mets and didn't do so. They were swept, which let the Mets win 7 in a row, but I'm not touching that side of it. The Giants went 0 for 27 with runners in scoring position in this series. Like, that is just diabolical for a team that actually has a lot of bats and a lot of sort of offensive upside. Matt Chapman hit 2 home runs today. Rafi Dev is still yet to kind of, I guess, make that ballpark his own. But it does still feel like a matter of time because they are in the hunt right now. Conversely, look at what the Pirates just did. They embarrassed Arizona outside of a Manfred runner scoring in the 11th inning in one of the games over the weekend. They shut them out. Like, there was 30 scoreless innings in that series. Yeah, the Pirates pitching's been pretty good this year, but this just looks to me like the right kind of setup for the Giants to make a little bit of a statement, put the Mets series behind them in a hurry, and tack on some runs tomorrow. So the team total for the Giants was 3.5 at 170. I want to stick with our theme of taking plays at a price above $2. So let's take the alternate team total of over 4.5 tomorrow for the Giants at $2.35, because I don't think this is a team that's going to score 1 or 2 runs. And if they do, they're going to continue to struggle. I think there's some big runs coming for the Giants over the next week or 2, especially if they're serious about, trying to take one of those NL wildcard spots.
I love market corrections, and you're right. Like, this is some crazy value. I like that you found this. I've talked and worked closely in some dugouts and been around there before, and the hitting and runners in scoring position conversation is always really, really interesting. And more often than not, I think you will find managers that are, you're not happy when you go 0 for 27 with runners in scoring position. Of course you're not. But you're way more frustrated. Here's one for you. In a 4-game stretch, would you rather be 0 for 27 with runners in scoring position, or would you rather be 1 for 6? Like, what
Yeah,
or
exactly.
2 for 6 even, or even
You've
2 for
created
6,
the opportunities to
233.
fall short, right? But you've still created those opportunities. Like that's the positive in that is they had 27 runners in scoring position, or you're like 27 times a guy was up with a chance to cash in. If they have that again against the Pirates in a 3-game set, I feel like they're gonna put up a 10 spot at some stage over the next few days.
And that's my point. In a vacuum, if you went, okay, let's make it more realistic. If you went 3 for 10 with runners in scoring position over the course of a series, you won 2 out of 3 games because those hits came when there was, runners on first and second, and you drove in a couple runs. Of course, you're going to say, yeah, I'll take the 3 for 10. But baseball managers don't, in a long season, don't look at it that way. They look at it as a whole scope of work. And you'd rather say, you know what? In the long run, I'd probably rather the team that's getting guys on base because that shows me there's a lineup that can produce. And like you said, I think it's going to be an explosion. Like market things happen in a funny reason, like even in the wrong way. Look at the Jays. They were rolling. They weren't allowing a lot of runs at all. And then they lost to the Boston Red Sox like 15-1 in one of their games that broke up a streak, right? It's like when you lose bad. Jays were finding all this magic. They allowed 7 runs in the 8th today against the Tigers, right? Like sometimes things just, you let your foot off the gas and off things go. And I think putting your foot on the gas can be pretty powerful too.
Do you remember that start to the year Raffy was having back when he was in Boston, and then he just had that week where he was like 3 extra base hits a game for an entire week of baseball? It kind of is feeling a little bit like that again because there's already this like, what have the Giants done? Who have they traded for kind of thing. This is a guy who is rocks and diamonds at times, but if he can get a hold of a couple tomorrow, there's going to be one landing, I think, in the Cove pretty quickly. I can't see the Giants just putting up 2 or 3 runs a game in this series against Pittsburgh. I think there's a big total coming. Let's take that plus money and find out.
Who's pitching for Pittsburgh tomorrow?
Mitch Keller.
Perfect answer.
What you see is what you get, right? Like a 4-something ERA guy, that they put 2 or 3 on him before they knock him out. And then one reliever comes out who maybe isn't as good as he was against Arizona at home. And the Giants just need one swing to cash in on all of these bases loaded kind of opportunities that they're creating.
Value. So we've got the San Francisco Giants over 4.5 at 235. We've got the Royals to win at 240. We've got Jacob Mizorowski at 6+ and the Brewers to win at 310 and Chase Burns at 7+ strikeouts at 230. If 2 of those hit, you make money. That's the simple equation right there. If 3 of those hit, you've made a nice little profit, and if 4 of them, you're booking a vacation. So there's your play right there. 4 plays to get you through your Monday of play, and hopefully you learn a bit about what's going on in the baseball world at the same time. Spoon, thanks for joining me as always.
Looking forward to the next one already, mate. Take care.